A Quiet Place Day One is a good movie, but I feel like it could have been better. And the big question is it better than the original two? That is a question I will answer at the end of this video when I give my full ranking on all three of these movies. But anyways, let's talk about A Quiet Place Day One. Now, this will be a spoiler-free movie review, but if you do want to see what I gave this movie out of 10, head over to my shorts, TikTok, or Instagram and check out my one-take movie review on this movie. But without further ado, let's talk about A Quiet Place Day One. So this movie is directed by Michael Sarnowski, and he is known for directing the very well-received movie called Pig, starring Nicolas Cage, and this is a movie I still have to check out. I've only heard good things about it, but anyways, in A Quiet Place Day One, we follow Lupita Nyong'o's character and Jospeh Quinn's character as they both try to survive and escape the first day of this big alien invasion. Starting things off with the good, I of course have the performances by Lupita Nyong'o and Jospeh Quinn. Now, this movie very much follows the relationship between their two characters as they try to survive this big alien invasion, and they did a great job together. They had great on-screen chemistry, and they really carried a lot of this movie. Their friendship was really the heart of this movie, and I think it worked well. It gave us a lot of wholesome moments between the two as they went on this journey together and as we got to know them throughout this film. Both of them had great performances, but my favorite performance in this movie belongs to Lupita Nyong'o. She was absolutely phenomenal in this thing, and given that this is a Quiet Place movie, there obviously wasn't a lot of dialogue, so she had to convey a lot of what she was feeling just through facial expressions, and she did a great job at that. And in my opinion, that is one of the hardest things to do on camera, is to convey what you're feeling and all of your emotions solely using facial expressions and not much dialogue at all. So every time I see an actor do this and do it well, I just have to give them their flowers. And honestly, the same thing goes for Jospeh Quinn. He was great as well, and I haven't seen Stranger Things, so I'm not too familiar with him yet, but after seeing this movie, this just makes me so much more excited to see him in the Fantastic Four movie as the Human Torch. Next up for the good, I have the sound design. Now, every time I watch a Quiet Place movie, the thing I am most excited for is the sound design. And in this movie, it is definitely on the same level as the other two when it comes to that. It really just immerses you in this film from the minute this thing gets started, and I swear you can hear every little detail in this movie, and it almost makes you feel like you're sitting right there with the character as you try to stay quiet so this big creature won't kill you. And with the limited dialogue, it just made each sound feel so much bigger and louder than it actually was, and that helped with the couple of jump scares that were in this movie that I thought worked really well, because yes, they did get me a couple of times on the jump scares. But on top of that, the sound design also made this movie so much more intense, and that kind of leads me to my next good thing about this movie, and that is just the pure intensity of this thing, because in my opinion, this is one of the most intense movies of the year. And yes, as I said before, the sound design definitely helped with the intensity of this film, but some of the sequences when they were just running and trying to get away from some of these creatures were some of the most intense parts of this film, in my opinion. Each of those scenes had this kind of slow buildup that had you sitting on the edge of your seat because you knew something was about to pop off and go wrong, but you just didn't know when that was going to happen. So even though this movie did have its slower moments, there was still no shortage of intense moments in this thing that got your heart going just a little bit. Moving on to the so-so, and the only thing I have here is the story. Now, I just couldn't totally get on board with the story because of the motive that Lupita Nyong'o's character had for going on this big journey through New York while the world was essentially ending. It's tough to talk about this without spoiling it, so if you don't want spoilers, just go to this timestamp on the screen, because I'm gonna talk spoilers here for just a sec in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so in this movie, Lupita Nyong'o's character is terminally ill, and instead of escaping New York, she decides that she just wants a slice of pizza instead to remind her of a time with her dad. Now, I completely understand her thinking behind this. She's thinking, hey, I'm gonna die anyway, so what's the point of me trying to escape New York at this point? I'm gonna go get a slice of pizza and hopefully remember better times with my dad. But for me, it was just one of those things where I was just like, okay, the world is literally early ending, so how are you even going to find a slice of pizza that is not covered in dirt, dust, and rubble from all of these destroyed buildings that are around you? Now, they did somehow end up finding this box of pizza that somehow, some way, hadn't been destroyed yet, and it did lead to a pretty wholesome part in the movie, but overall I just couldn't hop on board with this plot, even though I understood what they were trying to do and say with it. And finally, moving on to the bad, and the only thing I have here is that we didn't get to learn anything new about these creatures that have invaded Earth. And that's sad because that was one of the main things I was really looking forward to in this film. I was really excited to see how they learned that they needed to stay quiet in order to survive, and other things like how they learned that these creatures couldn't swim. But we just didn't get any of that. It was actually skipped over in this movie. We just got this big invasion of Earth, and then all of a sudden we're just with a bunch of people who know to stay quiet in order to survive. So I just thought that was a missed opportunity with this movie to really dive into something pretty cool and something that I think all fans wanted to learn and know more about. But overall, I still enjoyed this movie, and I think it's pretty good. It has great performances by its leads and is one of the most intense movies of the year. Even though I think the story was kind of weak, there are still plenty of wholesome and intense moments that makes this movie worth the watch. But now to follow up on the beginning of the video and give you my ranking on all three of the Quiet Place movies. At number 3, I would have A Quiet Place Day One, followed up with A Quiet Place Part 2 at number 2, and at number 1 is of course the original A Quiet Place. I would love to know your ranking of these movies in the comments, but as always, those are my thoughts on A Quiet Place Day One. Be sure to let me know what you thought of the movie down in the comments, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, comment, get your Eazy Apparel at shopeasyapparel.com. God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.